Hello everyone, my name is Gauriya here and I'll be giving a demo lecture on human reproductive system. Alright, so we'll start with basic male reproductive organ, its function and different parameters in internal and external organs involved for male reproductive system to work efficiently. See? So I'll start okay. Now let's move forward towards introduction to male reproductive organ. So in this particular scenario you can see that male reproductive organ has specifically three functions.
चेअर
हलवते का
करू
मी
नका.
सॉरी ओके
स्टार्टिंग पासून पुन्हा ही स्लाइड चालू करा.
इंट्रोडक्शन परत द्यायची गरज आहे
नाही.
का? नाही ओके. Okay, so I was talking about introduction towards male reproductive organ. So like I mentioned, the male reproductive organ has three basic functions. So firstly, they produce, maintain and transport sperms as well as the semen. The semen is the basic production fluid which is there around the sperm. Alright, so after that we're talking about the discharge of sperm into the female reproductive tract. So in this particular scenario, the sperms cannot survive outside the human body within few minutes, but when it enters the female vagina and the cervical mucus, it can stay there for 3 to 5 days specifically. Alright, so the last point I wanted to share was about the production, secretion of male hormones. Specifically the male testosterone hormones are being secreted. So the male reproductive system has three basic functions. It can store urine as well as discharge of urine. It also involves to produce, maintain and this transportation of sperms and the semen. Like I mentioned, semen is the productive and the protective fluid around the sperm. Okay, thank you. So we'll move forward towards the basic anatomy of the male reproductive organ. Like you can see here, these are the various organs involved within the male reproductive organ. Now we're going to discuss each one of them in little briefer detail. Okay, so here you can see male reproductive organs have these basic 8 important organs which are involved in giving more functioning to the male organ.
1 सेकंड मॅम. तुम्ही जे असं म्हणजे हातवारे वगैरे करताय ना, तर ते इकडे काही दिसत नाही, तर तुम्ही इकडे जे करायचं आहे ते पॉइंटिंग करा. तर पहिल्या स्लाईडमध्ये जे तुम्ही एक्सप्लेन केलं ना, तिकडे बिलकुल पण पॉइंटिंग नव्हतं केलं ना, तर ते पॉइंटिंग करायला हवं ॲक्च्युली.
ओके फाईन. तर आय गो बॅक टू द फर्स्ट स्लाइड. Okay. Alright, so I was talking about introduction to the male reproductive organ.
पॉइंटिंग करा ना.
Yes. So like I mentioned, I was talking about the introduction to male reproductive organ. So like I mentioned, male reproductive organ is a system includes group of organs that make up man's reproductive and urinary systems. These organs have the following main 3 jobs to perform. So first one is they produce, maintain and transport sperm. The sperms are the male reproductive cells and semen. Semen is basically
फास्ट होत आहे, म्हणजे नाही का, थोडं
स्लो
करा. आणि पॉइंटिंग म्हणजे एकदम असं करू नका, जस्ट नॉर्मल हळू. तुम्ही जसं एक्सप्लेन करताय, जेवढं करताय तसं करा. ते खूप असं फास्ट होत आहे.
हे बघा एकदम असं करायचं, असं बघू स्लो.
हां, तुमचा हात टच झाला ना स्क्रीनला तरी काही होत नाही, तुम्ही टच करू शकता. फक्त त्याला ना एक बटन आहे, तर ते फक्त प्रेस करू नका.
कुठलं बटन हे का?
हां, ते करू नका.
Alright, so let's begin towards introduction to the male reproductive organ. The male reproductive organ includes a group of organs that make up a man's reproductive and urinary system. These organs do the following jobs within the body. Now there are 3 important jobs which are performed. We'll go with the first one. Okay, they produce, maintain, transport sperms. Sperms are the male reproductive cells and semen. The semen is the protective fluid which goes around the sperm. Alright, now the second function is they discharge sperm into the female reproductive tract. Okay, so they are supposed to be discharged in the female vagina. Accordingly, what happens is if the semen is outside the body, it cannot survive more than 2 to 3 minutes, but when it enters the female organ, it can survive up to 3 to 5 days. Now the last point, the third point, they can produce, secrete male sex hormones. These are the basic jobs which are performed by the male reproductive organ. Now, a little heads up towards what are more content related to it. The male reproductive system is made up of internal as well as external parts. We are going to discuss them in much more detail, but yes, together these organs help the man urinate. They can have sexual intercourse as well as children. Now, this is a basic diagram of how a male reproductive organ looks into a graphical illustrative manner, and here are the basic 8 organs which we are going to talk about in detail. The first one is the bladder, which is situated here. Then we're going to talk about the urethra. Alright, then it comes towards the testes, which is this particular part, talking about the penis in much more detail. And then we have seminal vesicle, we have prostates over here, and then the vas deferens as well as epidermis. Alright, so let's go in much more detail about these organs and their roles specifically. So the bladder, like I showed in the first slide, the bladder walls relax and expand to store urine and contract and flatten the empty urine through the urethra. Second, the urethra. Urethra is a tube which is alongside it carries urine from the bladder to the outside of your body. In males, it has the additional function of expelling and ejaculating semen. The next one we're talking about is testes. Testes are responsible for making testosterone. Okay, that's one of the primary male sex hormone and for producing sperm. Alright, so we'll go towards penis. Now penis has majority of 3 important parts which needs to be considered. Alright, so the root, this is a part of penis that attaches to the wall of your abdomen. Alright, the body or shaft shaped like a tube or cylinder. The body of the penis is made up of 3 internal chambers. As the penis fills the blood, it becomes rigid and eject, which allows for penetration during sex. Okay, so when it is erected and rigid, it has a blood flow throughout it, so that the urine secretion is stopped, and it helps the penis to penetrate during the sexual intercourse. The glans. This is the cone-shaped end of the penis. The glans, which is also called the head of the penis, is covered with a loose layer of skin, which is also known as foreskin. So, like I was talking about semen earlier, semen contains sperm. It is ejaculated throughout the end of the penis when a man reaches sexual climax, which is also known as orgasm. When the penis is erect, the flow of urine is blocked from the urethra, allowing only semen to be ejaculated to orgasm. Now, these are the other 4 organs which are also vital along with the first 4 we discussed. So we'll go with seminal vesicle as discussed. The seminal vesicles are sac-like pouches that attach to the vas deferens near the base of the bladder. The basic functions are very helpful to provide sperm with a source of energy and help with the sperm's motility, the movement of the sperm into the female body parts according. The fluid of seminal vesicles makes up most of the volume of ejaculating fluid or ejaculate. Now, let's talk about the prostate. The prostate gland is a walnut-sized structure that is located below the urinary bladder in front of the rectum. The prostate gland contributes additionally fluid to the ejaculate. Prostate fluids also help to nourish the sperm. The urethra, which carries the ejaculation to be expelled or ejaculated during the organism, runs through the center of the prostate gland. The vas deferens, which we were discussing earlier, is a long muscular tube that travels from the epidermis into the pelvic cavity to just behind the bladder. The vas deferens transports mature sperm to the urethra in preparation of ejaculation. Now we're talking about the epidermis, which is a very important organ coiled tube. It rests on the backside of each testicle. Alright, so it carries and stores sperm cells that are created in the testes. It's also the job of the epidermis to bring the sperm to maturity. The sperm that emerge from the testes are immature, incapable of fertilization. During sexual arousal, contraction force the sperm into the vas deferens. Alright, So here is a small presentation I would like to give in more detail, which explains how the ejaculation or how urine production or the flow or removing the urine from the male reproductive organ happens, as well as how semen is flown out of the body accordingly. So yeah.
2 मिनिट.
Actually it's okay. मैंने जो बोला है वही है in the video, so it's okay. इतना ही है actually. It's okay अगर नहीं हो रहा है play तो.
2 मिनिट. जैसे यहाँ से डुप्लीकेट डिस्प्ले कर दो. One second.
Yes, so like I was explaining about the male reproductive organ. So talking about the basic functions of this organ over here. Now here are the testes. We were talking about where the sperm production happens, the urethra, the tube via which it flows, and the vas deferens, which carries the semen or the protective fluid around the sperm towards the seminal vesicle, the prostate glands over here. And accordingly, when the sperm pass through this particular area, it becomes a little whitish. So testes is here the place where the sperm generation happens. These are the glands seminiferous tubules where the first sperm generation specifically occurs, as well as the epididymis, which is the covering layer above the testes. Exactly how the entire process of sperm formation happens is here. And accordingly, the penis fills with blood and becomes erect. Alright, so this is the blood flow we're talking about, and it becomes erect into the size accordingly. And sperm travels from the epidermis through the vas deferens. This is the line we are talking about. Okay, so then the vas deferens, when it travels from there, particularly this is the ampulla we're talking about. So this is the region specifically where the seminal vesicle is also situated, the gland over here. Alright, in contact with them, the semen will travel through the ejaculation duct to the urethra. So ejaculation duct is here and the urethra. When it comes near the prostate gland, specifically over here in this region, alright, so there is this semi-whitish fluid which happens, and this is the urethra via which it is transported outside the body. Thank you.
अभी जो आपने किया ना बहुत फास्ट एक्सप्लेन
वो
किया, जैसे
वीडियो
वीडियो
पॉज,
चल रहा
हाँ।
है. और मतलब नहीं, क्या आई कांटेक्ट बिल्कुल भी नहीं हुआ ना एक्सप्लेन करते समय.
वो वीडियो फास्ट है थोड़ा, इसके लिए वो
हाँ.
अपने आप ही जैसे वो एक्सप्लेन होता है ना वैसे ही था. बट ठीक है, मैं वही बोल रही थी, अगर वीडियो नहीं भी रहा तो प्रॉब्लम नहीं है सच. इसमें कुछ चेंजेस कोई पर्टिकुलर स्लाइड के वक्त आपको लगा है क्या बोलने की ज़रूरत?